is brought to you in association with First National Bank of Botswana.
FNB, how can we help you?
An impending enemy that cares not for gender, age, or ethnicity was on the horizon.
The wave of new cases in Europe is forcing France and Germany to go back into lockdown.
The Africa Center for Disease Control and Prevention today reported over 1,000 COVID-19 cases in 40 African countries.
Tonight, the government said it was temporarily stopping flights from there from 9 a.m. tomorrow.
All over the world, we're seeing the devastating impact of this invisible killer.
The fatality rate of the virus is now under 3%, less than half that for SARS, but it's more contagious.
The year 2020 was a catastrophic year in our lifetime, plagued by the unprecedented novel coronavirus pandemic. The pandemic spread from the Chinese province of Wuhan, where it was first discovered in December 31, 2019. While the impact the virus has on human health is undeniable, its jarring effect on businesses and the global economy has been unmatched. 2020 saw much of the world go into countrywide quarantines, cessation of international travels, and businesses collapsing by the droves. Here in Africa, the disease made its mark in South Africa, where the virus rapidly spread, causing government to put the country on a nationwide lockdown in March.
The National Coronavirus Command Council has decided to enforce a nationwide lockdown for 21 days with effect from midnight on Thursday, the 26th of March.
While Botswana was still monitoring the situation, 3 people tested positive for the virus, sending shockwaves across the country. These cases would prompt the powers that be to announce Botswana's first ever nationwide lockdown from the 1st of April 2020.
During this period of extreme social distancing, all individuals across the country will be expected to adhere to a more severe form of social distancing, where movement out of the homes is only restricted to those performing essential services and transporting essential goods.
The journey has been one reminiscent of a roller coaster ride with a lot of ups and downs and heightened emotions. Since April last year, the country has had more than 3 lockdowns, even though some were zonal. Although various sectors, including government, set up COVID-19 relief funds and programs, the impact on small businesses especially has been mammoth, with many hanging on by a thread. All these measures, reactions and strategies cost a lot of money, especially on the national budget. The effects of the virus are expected to ricochet on for months, if not years, after the virus is finally defeated. This means much of the national spend will be influenced by the virus's activities, as outlined in the 2021-2022 National Budget speech delivered by the Minister of Finance and Economic Development, Dr. Matikinca-Ngwenya, on the 1st of February 2021. Much of the day was blanketed by a cloud of anxiousness from the masses, including individual citizens, the big and small corporates alike, and SMMEs, who waited in bated breath to hear what the minister had for them in his briefcase.
The advent of COVID-19 pandemic in March 2020 threw everything into disarray as countries the world over, including Botswana, moved into survival mode. Both human and financial resources were channeled towards the fight and containment of COVID-19.
After the anxious wait, Dr. Matikinca shared with the nation how government intended to spread what was in the national coffers across the various sectors of the economy during these unusual spells. One of the highlights of the speech was the increase on value-added tax by 2% and the introduction of levies on such items as sugar commodities to help raise funds towards economic development. Even though these revelations by the minister were met with dismay and shock by citizens on social media platforms and electronic media, the rationalization was that these are difficult times which call for difficult decisions to be made. While we cannot bring you the thoughts of every citizen regarding the speech, we, however, have the opportunity to bring you the first National Bank of Botswana 2021 budget review, graced by, amongst others, FNB Botswana CEO Stephen Bogatsu. The Minister of Finance and Economic Development gave a brief summary of the budget at the review, followed by a presentation by Chief Economist at First National Bank, Mamello Matikinca-Ngwenya, and Hardy Pemiwa, who is Group CEO and Managing Director at EcoNet. Our first guest is Chief Economist with FNB, Mamello Matikinca-Ngwenya. As a neighboring country that Botswana looks to for most of her imports and export routes and even benchmarking exercises, Matikinca-Ngwenya gives us a perspective on the impact COVID-19 has had on South Africa's debt levels and jobs.
The direct impacts that we saw on the labor market were of course related by how government responded to the pandemic at the beginning of the crisis. So essentially, by locking down the economy, a lot of sectors then, went under significant amount of strain and started to lay off workers. So these were sectors like your retail sector, your hospitality sector, which to date still has not survived the brunt of this pandemic, your mining, manufacturing, and we're also quite surprised by the agriculture sector, which also experienced some strain and as a result some labor shedding, and of course it also speaks to sort of this extended lockdown of alcohol, which speaks to the wine industry, for example. So essentially in South Africa year to date we've seen just over 1 million jobs lost. And we had anticipated around 1.2, which is not too far off. But I think, we are probably going to see the lagged effect of this pandemic on other sectors which are not as sensitive to output. I mean, for instance, if we look at liquidations of businesses, we're seeing that, sectors such as finance and business services are now starting to also experience this negative impact of the pandemic, and we're likely to see them also starting to let some people off. So essentially we're expecting, over the next year, out of the 5 jobs that were lost, we're only expecting 1 in 5 to be regained.
First Issues will be back shortly after the break. Stay tuned.
When running a business means,
Where did I put that receipt?
we can help you with instant accounting, free software that does your bookkeeping for you. When running a business means,
Wait, what do you mean the container hasn't arrived?
we help protect your business from risk with Mohwebi Insurance. And when it means,
how do we pay our staff that don't have bank accounts?
we help you make multiple payments directly to people's phones with e-wallet bulk send. At FNB, we're constantly innovating to help business owners at every stage of their journey.